the phone every week with the president because you lead the biggest Christian right organization in the country, the National Association for Evangelicals, and you're telling Bush to pass a law banning gay marriage, to put that law into the Constitution, and you're having sex with a male bodybuilder and snorting methamphetamines. There's something wrong with that.
Max, it tends to be a problem, doesn't it, buddy?
It's called hypocrisy, and that's become the ethos of this party.
Now, Max, for those that may not know, can you tell us who Dr. James Dobson is? A lot of people probably, people have probably heard of it, but can you actually give us a synopsis as to who he is?
Right. Dr. James Dobson, I think, is the most powerful figure of the Christian right, the movement that controls the Republican Party. But he's not a religious leader, and he has no religious credentials. He's a child psychologist, and his fame and fortune comes from this book he wrote, a little book called Dare to Discipline, which is a manual for how to basically beat your children into submission, to restore their respect for authority and God. It's a book, it tells you how to use the Vulcan pinch on little children, to pinch their necks. He says to hit your child until he cries, and after he cries, he'll crumple to your breast, and you should welcome him with warm and loving arms.
And this was a bestseller, and this guy's recognized as somebody that should be have some say-so in this party?
It sold millions. Dobson, in another book, Bringing Up Boys, talks about how if your male toddler plays with dolls and has, a gender confusion, bring him into the shower with you in the nude and show him your penis, because your penis is bigger than his. He says this. And this is the guy who is on the phone every week with Bush, too, who's directly responsible for electing
So
Bush.
The guy that wrote a book about the Vulcan grip on your kids, beat them down to submission, and then
showing kid your penis.
And the bottom line is, if your kid's a little bit on the fence as to what's going on, take him into the shower and show him how big your penis is compared to yours. That's the guy that used to be on the phone every week with George W. Bush.
Well, I mean, it's no surprise that so many of the people who Dobson converted, like Tom DeLay, who he converted from Hot Tub Tommy into the Hammer, were beating his children.
I feel like I'm talking to Vince McMahon. Vince Spice, what do you got? You got Hot Tub Tommy?
Hot Tub Tommy and Macho Manor.
But he's going to switch into the Hammer, you said?
Yeah.
Okay, but
it's his alter ego.
Is the Hammer.
The Hammer.
Right, and then you guys got a little bit of a shower scene later today.
Show your penis to your child. Inside of Macho Manor.
I mean, it would be actually more believable if Vince did it, would it not? I mean, it's sad that this is, the one of the most powerful parties. Well, it's half of our political system, at least.
Yeah.
Well, this is why the party is getting weaker and weaker, because of these bizarre scandals, and they just keep coming and they keep coming. Mark Sanford with his Latin lover. John Ensign, the senator from Nevada, what happened in Vegas didn't stay in Vegas.
Max, do you address every one of those in your new book, Republican Gomorrah? Do you every one of these? Do you go through?
These are recent, but my book ends with Obama's inauguration, and I go through scandal after scandal that happened, during the Republican Congress that brought it down, including stuff people don't know about, like Matt Sanchez, who is a really he was an influential conservative activist. He won a big award at the top conservative conference that they have every year in Washington, CPAC, for his fight against campus leftists, the anti-war left. He said they called him a baby killer because he was a Marine recruiter on campus. And he went on the Bill O'Reilly show, and he went on the Sean Hannity show talking about his crusade. And the following day, Matt Sanchez, who I met, was revealed as Rod Majors, gay male porn star.
Now, but let me ask you a question, Max. The Rush Limbaughs, the Glenn Becks, the Sean Hannitys, they make hundreds of millions of dollars. And why is it that those guys, who are basically an extension of your book, basically of the party, I think you would agree to that, why do they get so many people to believe what they say and have so many followers when, a guy like yourself can give us these cold, hard facts, and obviously if they were not real, you'd be sued for, defamation and slander. Why do people still support this party?
Yeah, I mean, the party's supported by the kind of people I talk about in my book who fear something inside themselves and don't want to look at the facts, because once they do, the glory of the cause and all the euphoria and the excitement they feel from this culture war against evildoers, it's erased. And once they start to compromise, they don't feel that excitement anymore. It's like a drug. And by the way, Glenn Beck is a former drug addict. He was a cocaine addict.
Yeah, we know that.
We worked with him here. You know Glenn Beck.
Yeah, we know Glenn Beck. We worked with him here in Tampa, and we know very much about his rehab and, and the things that he used to do, the womanizing and things like that. And now all of a sudden, he's making, 50-some million, or I don't know, 10, 15 million a year, being this Bible-thumping 911, I love my country, Jesus, God, all this kind of thing. And, either you're a bad person and you have the mentality to act that way, or you don't. You just can't flip a switch and change.
No, and so he's a dry drunk now. He's a Mormon, and he's replaced that feeling that he got from drugs and alcohol with the feeling he gets from being a wingnut and being in front of a microphone all the time screaming about Obama. And that's the
now,
the exact.
Max, who's the guy that disgusts you the most? Whether it be a guy that's in the media, that one of these Rush, Glenn, Hannity, nut jobs, or somebody that's actually been a former politician and or maybe a current one. Who's the one that disgusts you the most, and why?
Well, I think Dobson disgusts me the most because he is a Puritan. He's never done any of this stuff, but he exploits people who have these personal crises. Dobson runs a $150 million political empire in Colorado Springs. And it's really, he's a psychologist, as I said, so they have a correspondence department in his group focused on the family that's so large it has its own zip code. And he handles thousands of pieces of mail and phone calls from Americans seeking help for everyday problems. Like they're having trouble with their marriage or they're addicted to porn or something like that. And then he takes them in a database and bombards them with Republican, right-wing political mailings telling them that homosexuals, abortion, liberalism, and feminists are responsible for their problems. And he exploits them, turning them into shock troops for his political agenda.
No.
I mean, you have to have sympathy for people with these problems, but when they get turned into shock troops and start lashing out at people who are just like them, then you can condemn them.
So the bottom line is they initially reach out for help, and then they become a statistic and a piece of data that he can then sell and rework and use for people that are in the Republican Party that are running for office, because he then calls them his followers because they've asked for help. He's brainwashed them with a ton of Republican propaganda, and then he then in turn sells that data to anybody who's running for a Republican type deal, as he's the guy that can touch more people than anybody via data. And so at the end of the day, anybody who wants to become anything in the Republican Party, do they virtually have to go through Dobson?
Well, we talked about Newt Gingrich with all his marriages and all of his sexual scandals. He'd had to disappear from public life for many years. But then when he decided to return, Newt Gingrich, who really doesn't believe in anything, he's sort of a sociopath, went on James Dobson's radio show and confessed all of his sins and bowed down before Dobson. And Dobson was involved in destroying Newt Gingrich as majority leader by doing all these coup attempts against him through Tom DeLay. So it just shows the power of the Christian right over the Republican Party. And now we see Newt Gingrich on TV. He's talking about running for president. He's converted to Catholicism and confessed before a priest, and he's going to run as the Catholic candidate. But it's all because of Dobson and the Christian right.
In your opinion, Max, knowing the party inside and out and how shady it is, who do you think could be the next viable Republican candidate for president? I mean, who is that person? Is it a person that's got to make a deal with Dobson? Is it a person that's got to be overly religious? Or can somebody like a Charlie Crist or somebody like that's a recognized and respected Republican that does not really do a lot of Bible banging and things like that, does he have a chance? Does he have a chance?
I think, you see Marco Rubio positioning himself to take out Charlie Crist, and Charlie Crist has faced a lot of gay rumors, which have hurt him with the party. But it's going to be in 2012 a race between even if Sarah Palin doesn't run, she has a lot of power in the party.
Unfortunately.
She's from the Christian right, and her opponents will be Mitt Romney or Tim Pawlenty, who are like mannequins, who have nothing really real about them that appeals to that movement. And so they're going to have to make a deal with Dobson and get him and his movement on their side if they want to be the candidate. And that's really I think that should be troubling for real conservative Republicans who don't want the government in their lives.
But the working title of your book, Inside the Movement That Shattered the Party, I think that a lot of your book states about how weak this party is getting because they've hung all their laurels on God and Jesus and this conservative right wing deal. I mean, but by all terms, it seems like it's weakening. So I mean, is this becoming less influential? People that that are so God righteous and stuff, or are Republicans and just normal people like me that kind of used to be part of the party waking up and saying, let's take the God equation out of it. Let's just bring it back to, being conservatively fiscal and being, less government and